Ma Guru Beda Padaraga Maju Jiri Wagenda Sumadi Jana Shasana Dara Shiri Bada Sawazi Devo.
So we all have the book by Lati Rinpoche. So wonderful. And as when you did your sadhanas, it is just like this, right? There's nothing to add there. You did it already. Transforming meditating on the path that transforms the three basic kayas into the resultant three kaya. And it's just, the reason is very clear, as discussed before. At this stage where I'm at now, then simply to meditate, taking the aspect of death into clear light, and the aspect of intermediate state into illusory body, Sambhogakaya, and rebirth into Nirmanakaya. By way of dissolving the elements, skandhas, the basic jhanas, the sense faculties, and then dissolving 80 concepts. Then dissolving appearance, then dissolving increasing appearance, dissolving near attainment appearance, clear light, in this clear light, inseparable with emptiness. Arising as Vajradhara. White in color. Okay, so we will stop here. 율리 도지상도 군도 까불어. 노스. 군도 까불어. 노스. 까불어. I think it's white. White in color, right? Illusory body. White in color. I think it has to do with something like the life-bearing wind. I think the life-bearing wind, the color is white, right? So, like this. Okay. So shall we continue our interaction? And Ryan, could you set a timer 7:50? Thank you. I forgot my watch and I would like to stop around 10 to 8. So then, Carlos, please.
Thank you, Rinpoche. Could you explain the difference between example clear light and meaning clear light or actual clear light?
I think actual clear light sounds like more natural. Meaning clear light, I don't know. Meaning clear light. Does that sound okay?
I just need to translate it that way.
Yes, of course. I'm talking about the translations. It's like you would say, oh, this is the actual person, or this is the actual thing, right? Not like, oh, this is the meaning person. That is the meaning thing. Yeah. So I think actual just sounds 아주 되게 해서야죠. No. 지난 테스트 example की 대처디 되는 줄아요래. 그냥 테스트 이 대응을 변니스 세지 그거라. 그때 뭐 보았더랬어요. No. So your question was, what's the difference between the example clear light and the actual clear light?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Isn't the difference that example clear light is conceptual and that actual clear light is non-conceptual? I think that is the difference, right? I think that is the difference, right? right? Yes. I have to check with, before when we were doing Vajra Yogini, what was the name of that? Tetra something. Tetrahedron. So I'm just checking with the tetrahedron. So I think like this.
So that's different than the death clear light then.
A death clear light is also, I think, conceptual. It's also conceptual. So it is like example clear light. The only difference is that example clear light is a realization of emptiness, right? I think that is the main difference. But they are both conceptual in nature. Yes.
And then the actual clear light is from practice, and then you actually non-conceptually realize emptiness through that clear light mind. Is that correct?
I think, yes. Yes, like that. But I also have some, that is actually how it is said like that in the texts. But then something like opinion, my opinion is, I would like to think clear light as somehow being non-conceptual, right? But I think I could be wrong. I've never come across any texts that say clear light is conceptual, death clear light is conceptual. So I'm not sure. But I've also seen explicit commentaries saying that during the mind of the death clear light is not non-dualistic. It is dualistic, right? It is dualistic. So if it is dualistic, just because it is dualistic doesn't mean it has to be conceptual, right? I mean, like the five sense consciousnesses, they are dualistic, but they are non-conceptual, depending on how concepts are defined. And in a traditionally, then the five sense consciousness are considered non-conceptual, at least from the viewpoint of the Chitta Matrans, the Swatrantikas, and I think the same applies in the Prasangika as well. Even though in the Abhidharma, Vaibhashika system, the word Tokpa has a different meaning, right? And then the five sense consciousness also one of the accompanying mental factors would be Tokpa, or in this case, concept, if I could use the same term. But then here it's a different understanding of concept, right? Regardless, the point was the mind of death clear light state is dualistic. But this dualistic, it's not coarse as this dualistic aspect is subtle now, right? It's subtle. So not like in the preceding states, right? Preceding states, for me, maybe because of all the backgrounds in the other school of thoughts, going to the basis of all consciousness, that being conceptual in nature, somehow it is like I'm not so comfortable. I don't feel comfortable with that, right? Whereas I feel more comfortable if the basis of all consciousness would be non-conceptual in nature. Because if the basis of all consciousness is conceptual in nature and has always been conceptual in nature, primordially conceptual, right? Then I fail to see how we can then use that to go beyond, right? To reach beyond this dualistic state, samsara. So, I don't know. Perhaps it's a question of how these words are used, right? Same word, different meaning. One word, different meaning, right? So, one word, different meaning. That gives much freedom, doesn't it? Right? One word, different meaning. It sort of takes away like the importance of words, right? It takes something. It, at least to my mind, to my thoughts, to my eyes, like that. I think it's helpful in detaching from labels, right? Somewhat helpful. Somewhat helpful. Clear light. Before, when we talked about this basic nature, something like our inclination, I was using white light. Actually, clear light is a better word. Clear light, clarity, luminous. These two aspects. As beings, as human beings, we wish for those qualities naturally, because this is really us, right? That is what we are. We arise from clear light, from clarity, and I might need your help. Luminosity? What's
Luminous.
and the noun?
Luminosity.
Luminosity. Thank you. So these two aspects. Yeah. This is, I think, why we are drawn to clear light, because that's our base. That's where we arise from, right? Okay, thank you.
Yes, I'm just going to try to clarify something. On the tour, or let's go first. I've read the sun clear light is experienced in meditation. It's the real clear light. The mother clear light is where you lose your body. On the tour, I described the clear light as all-pervading, luminous, and possessing inexhaustible bliss.
You're right. I also saw that in the text, just like you said.
Checking.
Yes. And what did I say before? One word, different meaning. So, one word, different meaning. A context. A context. This is very true, Lobsang. It's very true. The sun, the mother clear light is the dead clear light. The sun clear light is the realization of emptiness in that state, right? It was right. Who said it? Don't you do it? You said it, right? And my said it, Namgu, Chuba said it. Yes. Yes. But because I forgot what I said before, you made that statement because
One thing we keep living out is the inexhaustible bliss.
Inexhaustible bliss.
All-pervading, inexhaustible, luminous bliss.
Inexhaustible, all-pervading bliss.
Luminous, inexhaustible, pervading bliss.
Luminous, all-pervading, inexhaustible bliss.
Yes.
Yes. Isn't the clear light realizing emptiness non-conceptually, the luminous, inexhaustible, all-pervading bliss? It is, right? So the clear light realizing emptiness non-conceptually is the bliss of the luminous bliss of realizing emptiness, right? Yes. Yes. It is, right? So clear light realizing emptiness non-conceptually is the luminous, all-pervading, inexhaustible bliss.
That's the experience.
Yes or no or maybe? Was that a yes? That sounded like a yes. And we were talking about the clear light realizing emptiness non-conceptually. So we were talking about the luminous, all-pervading, inexhaustible bliss. So that wasn't left out. Oh, So if it is not left out, does it have to be spelled out? Okay. Oh, because we had a little back and forth. Yes, yes,
Maybe.
yes. Yeah. All right. So I just need to add on bliss, right?
I think it has three factors, I say.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Three factors. I
And what
say.
are the three
I-
factors?
Luminous, all
Luminous,
pervading,
all-pervading.
possessing inexhaustible bliss.
Possessing inexhaustible bliss.
It's the state of the clear light.
Luminous. And what was the second?
All pervading.
All pervading. What can you explain all pervading?
How about like the sky?
Can you explain like the sky? This is how like traditional debate is, right? Can you explain what is all pervading? That is like the sky. Well, what is like the sky? What does that mean?
Infinite space.
Infinite space.
I mean, we have to use words.
Of course.
Yes.
And I'm also using words.
Okay.
So what is infinite space?
Sky.
What is what is sky? What is sky?
What is it? Namka in Tibetan? What is it in Tibetan?
Yeah, Namka.
Namka.
And what is Namka?
I don't know in Tibetan. Usually it's clear in Tibetan that it is in English. So I'm asking your help there. Nam and Ka.
Yes. Namka is space. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Namka is Tibetan, the Tibetan word for space. And what is space?
So are sky and space interchangeable in the Tibetan language? Same word?
Excuse me?
Is it the same word in Tibetan, space and sky? Namka?
Space and Namka. Yes, I would say yes.
Yeah.
At least in this context, yes.
Okay.
Yes. We would say like Namka Tabu, Nyamsha Namka Tabu would be the state of mental equipoise, space-like, right? So that is the word used. That's true. Is the great bliss all-pervading?
Yes.
What does all-pervading mean? Does it mean that every being has this, or does it mean something else?
Every being has the potential for it.
So, okay, how about the state of Buddha? Is that all-pervading?
Yes.
How about Buddha? Is that all-pervading?
Buddha's a word or what? What do you mean by Buddha there?
I meant the enlightened state.
Yes.
Okay, so the potential of it, all-pervading, is the meaning of all-pervading in this context, right?
It's like the sky. It is everywhere. There's no end to the sky.
How about consciousness? Is that all-pervading?
In the clear light.
Outside of that?
It is probably all pervading at all times, but we're unaware of it.
Consciousness.
Of the all pervading nature of the potentials for that, we're unaware of it. But every being has the capacity for it.
Oh, thank you. I'm out of questions. Thank you.
So am I.
That was very clear. So next, please.
Rinpoche, this goes back to a conversation we had a few years ago.
Mhm.
And this goes back to a conversation that Rinpoche and I had a few years ago. And it goes to what we're talking about here,
Lama Söber Rinpoche? Oh, okay.
what we're talking about is to accomplish this in the completion stage of practice, to transform the three kayas. And for myself, I'm like a beginner, and at the time of death, I'm not going to be. It's beyond that level of my practice to engage in a completion stage practice, is my understanding. And so the thought that I had, and as a way to make my death meaningful, having a good motivation, was to become an organ donor, to donate whatever parts of my body were still useful for others, like that. Because my understanding is when the gross consciousness absorbs, the mind goes to neutral. There's no more virtue, negative, positive virtue. So up to the point where the gross consciousness dissolves, I can have this motivation and wish to make generosity for my body. And so with some of my friends over the years, we've had some conversations, and they said, no, you're making a mistake. You're going to disturb your dying process by doing this. And I've thought I wouldn't be. So my question to you is, left or right?
And the beginning of this, you mentioned that we had this conversation.
You have a big bear.
Okay. And did I respond?
Yes.
What was the response?
I don't think we should give it away.
I think this is a good response.
You said you thought that was a good way to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I still think so.
Yeah. So it is my idea about at the level of my practice. I can't speak for everyone else here, but at the level of my practice, the idea of approaching my last breath with this idea, I've got to meditate on this completion stage, which is way beyond my experience, that to be more beneficial, to think about practicing generosity and benefiting sentient beings and physically offering whatever's left of the body that's useful, as opposed to, I think yesterday you talked about to engage in those things that are essential to our practice in the time that we have. Something like this.
Yes. It is possible to do both.
How?
How? I think by always keeping the Guru at the heart.
Always. Yes.
That's all it takes, right? Always. The Guru at the heart. The Guru at the heart. That is our practice, right?
Definitely.
All of this. It all comes down to that. The Guru at the heart. The Guru at the heart at all times. As long as you have the Guru at the heart, nothing can go wrong. Whatever you decide, whatever you do, as long as you have the Guru at the heart, that is the practice. That is the way. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rinpoche, yesterday we were talking about the Vajrayana quick path, and then the Paramatayana takes 3 countless eons. But I've heard that even though it takes longer, it has the capacity to benefit more beings once our Buddhahood is attained, because maybe we've made more dharmic connections over that amount of time. So maybe because we want to benefit the most beings and have our Buddhahood have the highest capacity, maybe is this a thing? I've just heard this. I don't know if it's true.
I don't know either. I'm not sure. Whatever it is, this path, I think it's good, right? It's good. That is the point of our questions. Many times we ask questions. Many times we ask questions, don't we? Questions to whose answer? Whose answer? No. Which answer? Whose answer we already know. I think many times we do that. We know the answers, but we still ask the question. We already know the answer, but we still ask those questions. If this is the right path, then no doubt, right? And simply be on it, simply take that, right? And be in that state. That's really the point. Yeah. Because I know everybody in our gathering, everybody, maybe excluding one person, and this is very clear who this person is. But I know that you all have already found the Guru, you have found the path, and now it's a question of continuing that path, being on that path, right? It's so simple. You are on that path. You don't have to search for a path. You have found the Guru. You don't have to look for one. It's so clear. Yeah? It's so clear. What can be more clear than that? Nothing can, really. So just be on it. Just be in that state. Yeah? And I think it's really simple. It's really simple. Yeah? Because deep down, you all know it. So just be on it and be it, right? Yeah. I think it's like that.
Thank you, Rinpoche. I thought to clarify 3 things. The first wording about non-duality. So the thing that comes to my mind that non-duality could be very different types. And first non-duality, it's like even in shamatha stage, when in a certain moment the subject-object will become non-dual, just mere shamatha with any object. And the second one, it's kamabhani special outside with the conceptual understanding. Then could be same non-duality with direct realization of emptiness and then could be in clear light also, like, or in tantric context, bliss and emptiness. And this all valid to say this all states non-duality, non-dual, but non-dual with the different objects, mind with the different objects.
I don't know. It is difficult to say, right? It is difficult to say. Here, from an Anuttara Yoga Tantric practice side, then it is clear light. It is innate mind, right? This is where what needs to be activated, right? To be in that state and then know emptiness within that state, right? To know emptiness within that state. Anything outside of that, then they would have different layers, right? Different layers of dualism somehow, like this. Yeah.
Just another, in the same clarification, I think His Holiness Dalai Lama was asked when he was given a commentary on Dignaga test, and it was also non-duality. And he said in that context, it's just subject-object, and he didn't comment anything else. But he said in that context, it's just subject-object, non-duality. So that's how, like, I come up. I thought different kind of.
Yes. This kind of explanation, that is true from the viewpoint of those school of thoughts. So from Chittamatrin point of view, it's a different way of explaining, right? From the Chittamatrin's viewpoint, then something like self-knowing, yeah, the self-knowing, valid cognition, it doesn't have that dualistic subject-object dualistic there. Nevertheless, it still has the two truth dualism there, right? So then this is from different viewpoints of those school of thoughts. So from the Anuttara Yoga Tantric practice side, then it is the innate mind. It is the innate mind. This is the only mind that has that from which one can develop the realization of emptiness. And in that non-conceptual state, then there is no room for any. It is beyond all forms of dualism, from all layers, from all different forms of dualism. This is only possible by the direct realization of emptiness from the state of clear light. Now, I'm not saying clear light, the basic clear light is non-dualistic. I'm not saying that, but it is the only mental state from which you can develop non-dualistic, from which you can develop realization of emptiness that is free from all forms of dualism. Yeah, so that's, I think, one little distinction that can be made. Yeah, like that. Thank you.
Thank you. The second.
Second question, please.
There are three.
Yes. And the second one, please.
Yeah, the second one about, it was discussion about sleep. And Rinpoche told us that some yogis, when they wake up in the morning very early, they feel fresh. So my kind of thought was that is it come only like when person attain shamatha or before, and also others kind of inconvenience of the body that could be kind of have difficulties for engaging in practice.
I think also even, I think this kind of the sleep body, this kind of experience, during sleep, and then like sleep body emerging and then using that and then sort of walking around like the whole countryside, that kind of experience is independent of whether the person has any practice of shamatha or not. I think it is independent. It's not really connected with shamatha practice. Yeah, so even someone who has maybe no training on any kind of like this meditative states could have this experience. This is of course not, no need to add any more words. Thank you.
Yeah. The last one about Rinpoche mentioned about the guru in the heart. Can Rinpoche please explain us how the most beneficial way to visualize that? The guru in the heart.
In a way, this sounds very easy, but this is in a way like bringing everything to a point. So in order to bring everything to a point, one needs to go through everything, right? Without going through everything, you cannot bring everything to a point. Then it becomes simplistic. Simplistic? It's like simplifying. Yeah? There's a difference between simplifying and then simple, right? So bringing all Anuttara Yoga tantric practice to a point, to this point of the guru at the heart, this practice, I think one has to go through the sadhana and go through all, and also gaining familiarity and some kind of practice in the completion stage practice as well, right? I think it's very helpful. But regardless, even without such deep knowledge or something like this, even the simple practice of the guru at the heart practice, even that, I think it is what we call the swift path, because when you have that, even with the dissolution practices, if this is very stable, if the guru is stable at the heart, right? And by heart, of course, in the indestructible drops, right? The guru in the indestructible drop, then it is possible, to, I think, attain what we call siddhis, accomplishments, As you all know, there's from one of these tantras, without the guru, no accomplishments, something like that, right? So to really bring all our Anuttara Yoga Tantric practice into the guru, I think it's really so beneficial. And with guru, we can talk about that in the next 2 days. I think there will be time for that.
So, Rinpoche, I'd like just a clarification from Venerable Yarpel's question. I think this has been floating around for years and years about organ donating. And I think the argument against it was that we learned from studying the death process in the Lam Rim and other places that it's very important not to disturb the person who's dying. Even we have that, that protocol of even leaving for 3 days if we can. So I think where we go back and forth is that if someone is donating their organs, that their body could start being operated on very quickly after the breath stops. And so I think that's where whether or not that's helpful or harmful, right? So I think that's where the argument or discussion comes from. It's kind of a question too.
Okay. Well, for me personally, you are raising your hands. Oh.
In consultation with one of my friends who is a nurse who just retired, in her experience that they can wait up to 14 hours to extract the organs.
That's the law.
That's the limit of it, but you can certainly, a few hours would be like, they're not going to start pulling the parts out as soon as the breath stops.
This really is a conundrum, isn't it? I mean, for me personally, if anybody wants to engage in a bodhisattva action, I would always say, I agree. Go ahead. Don't have second thoughts, you know? I think it's that way, it's so simple for me. It's really up to the person. The most I can do is appreciate. That's the least I can do. And probably the most I can do at the same time. The least and the most I can do is really appreciate. If anybody is going to engage in bodhisattva actions, I as a third person have no right to say, to suggest some like otherwise. No, I feel I don't have that privilege. Instead, I say, thank you, right? And simply rejoice. Yeah. If the other person says, no, I would rather preserve the organs so that I can go through these dissolution stages and go through that also. This is all I can do. I cannot say, no, you have to, give up your organs. It makes no sense, right? It makes no sense for me to try to change this person's virtuous thoughts. What's the point, right? So for this kind of situations, for me, it's really very simple. So simple. It doesn't need, it's not like we need to have like a town hall meeting, like get all the community together and then have a discussion about that. No, not at all. It's your choice, right? You are the one who is either donating the organ, or you are the one who is really concerned for the sake of all sentient beings to really make the best use of that opportunity, right? The dissolution stages. So I, as a third person, can only support in whatever it is that you wish for. Yeah, I think it's like that. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
We have some questions online.
Yes.
What is the difference between Vajravarahi and Vajrayogini? Is there a separate initiation and sadhana for Vajravarahi?
Vajravarahi and Vajrayogini, I think not much difference. Except, what is that word, that term? Doji pamorwa? Pamor. Doji pamorwa? Doji pamon pa jiji yamar. Yang suru dewaji le jiyor dewaji lao. Dewaji. De harz lao. Yeah. De mingji sigra injigen. What is the name of that animal? No. No. It begins with the S. Yeah. Right. So that is usually like Vajravarahi, right? But it's not like that's, but I have the feeling this Vajravarahi or Vajrayogini, it's like, again, they're like synonyms, synonyms. I think synonyms. It's a bit like Buddha Amitabha and Buddha Amitayus. Yeah, I think synonyms, right? Buddha Amitabha, Buddha Amitayus. I think synonyms. Are they not? Right? Synonymous. So I think it is like that. Yeah.
In the abbreviated
Excuse me, if I may add, even though they are the same, but depending on the tradition and the context, of course, we use those terms independently, right? So when we say like Vajrayogini practice, then it is advisable not to say Vajravarahi practice, but go with that term, so that, yeah, just for the sake of terms, not because it makes a big difference in terms of like the path or the resultant stage, but just for the sake of, I think, something like conventionality, so that everybody is on the same page, that kind of thing, not to create further confusions. Then we have to see like the text, everything, and then try to stay like accurate with the terms, at least only, yeah. Yes.
There was a separate practice for body of
Well, what was the previous question?
He was correct. He also asked whether there was a separate initiation and sadhana.
Yes, of course, because there is also like a Vajravarahi, we have imagery by itself, like a stand-alone, right, as the main deity. So then for sure, there are also practices related to Vajravarahi. Yeah.
In the abbreviated Guru Yoga, why does one become a Vajrasattva? Is it to clear our karma? And if so, why?
In the Vajrayogini practice. All right. Vajra Dara or Vajra?
Vajrasattva.
Yes. Again, Vajrasattva, Vajradhara. Again, in some contexts, again, they're used, these terms are used interchangeably. Yeah. So Vajradhara or Vajrasattva, same. Yeah. In some contexts. Of course, in the context of like, Vajrasattva meditation, then we would say Vajrasattva, not Vajradhara, of course, right? But then usually like Vajrasattva and Vajradhara are used as these terms relate to the same deity. Yes. Yeah.
Her question is, why does one become Vajrasattva?
Oh, so Vajradhara. Yeah. 有个呢，这个呢，在恰到多起唱，在为了嘛，看不到多起唱时候，可多呀。Is there like a part in the succession Guru Yoga? I thought it was Vajradhara.
First generation.
Oh, right. It comes, I think it comes after the mandala. Oh, right. Okay, so this is right. I was reciting the other succession Guru Yoga. Sorry. Yes. Here I think it's same again. Vajradhara or Vajrasattva makes no difference.
Is it possible to achieve enlightenment without having learned all of these details theoretically? I mean, is it possible to develop all these experiences, the path that brings to enlightenment, in a different way than literally following the instructions?
If I may go to the other previous question, Vajradhara has both the Vajra and the Gandha, and Vajrasattva only the Vajra, right? Yes. So Vajrasattva. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, yes. Okay, so the implements are also same. Right, like this. Oh yes. Okay, then. Okay, it's good. Yeah. And then with the next, with the last question, can you repeat it?
Is it possible to achieve enlightenment without having learned all of these details theoretically?
Of course.
And the follow-up is it possible to achieve enlightenment in a way other than literally following the instructions?
What instructions?
We can ask for clarification.
Okay.
Nothing's listed.
If the instructions was something like practice compassion, and if the instruction was something like practice bodhicitta, then I'm afraid not. Yes.
Hi, Rinpoche. Would you please tell us a bit about how to face death as a very new Buddhist practitioner who knows a little bit about breathing meditation and has a little idea of bodhisattvas or maybe bodhicitta? Thank you.
As a beginner, I find it very helpful to first to think of death as impermanence, right? To take death as change. No matter what, things change. It is simply a state. It is simply a state, a changing state. This is how things are. They are not permanent, even though we wish for permanent state of happiness. It is not permanent. Everything arises out of causes and conditions. And when these causes and conditions are there and there are no obstacles, then things arise. And when these causes and conditions are not there, then things cease or things change. So change is our reality. No, this is how things exist. It is one aspect. It is one aspect. And to go to think of the mind as beginningless and endless, right? The mind, our mind has no beginning. It has no end. And death is simply a moment. And death is the doorway to the next stage, to the next moment. That is what death is. It is like any other changes we experience in our lives. And it will definitely happen. And there is no use hiding from it. Instead, to prepare ourselves for developing our minds, right? Develop this mind. How to develop this mind? So, like this.
One last question online. While doing a guided meditation moving through the three kayas, it was mentioned that the impetus to move from the Dharmakaya into the Sambhogakaya is bodhicitta, and also further into the Nirmanakaya, the impetus is bodhicitta. How does this bodhicitta or these bodhicittas arise?
Yes. First of all, I'm not sure if we have what is called conventional bodhicitta, if that is manifest during actual clear light state. Is that manifest in that state or not? No. Okay. I'm getting a no.
Just one. That's a one. Two.
Yeah. 3, yes. But the thing is that there is no yes. So that is very affirming. So this impetus, of course, it is the bodhicitta, but this doesn't mean that the conventional bodhicitta is manifest during those transformations, right? During those moments, right? This conventional bodhicitta is very much before the actual equipoise on emptiness, because that equipoise on emptiness is that came forth from conventional bodhicitta, right? So, of course, all these different states, they are all connected with conventional bodhicitta, right? What was the word? Impetus. So how do you use that in this sentence? So conventional bodhicitta acts as the impetus for these three transformations of these different states, from the Dharma Kaya to the Sambhoga Kaya to the Sambhoga Kaya, then to the Nirvana Kaya states. So conventional bodhicitta surely acts as the main impetus, but that doesn't mean that it needs to be manifest during Temathagen Lama.
It doesn't have to be what we technically call immediately preceding condition.
Yes.
So that has to be manifested presently.
Yes. So it is not the immediate cause, right? But nevertheless, it is the main impetus. Yes. Yes. Is that all? Was that all?
We did just get another one. But
Okay, please.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I will get back. But first.
Okay. If one goes to sleep around 3:30 a.m. after doing sadhanas, can they be enlightened in the clear light of sleep, or do they have to stay awake until dawn?
Or we could have like daylight saving time off and on. That could help. It could speed up the enlightening process, right? The daylight saving. This is a very good question, but somehow difficult to answer. So I don't know. Thank you.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Please, Elaine.
This is regarding succession Guru Yoga.
Mm.
I've always had this question because Vajrayogini has been my practice for many years.
Mhm.
Then whatever I can do to reinforce pure appearance and divine pride, thinking wherever might come up, I arise as. So in succession Guru Yoga, where it says arising as Vajrasattva, rather to arise as Vajrayogini in union with Chakrasamvara, holding curved knife and skull cup. Is that a fault?
You mean seeing it as it is like that, or you mean making that change?
Making that switch in the practice of actually arising as Vajrayogini in that practice.
That is absolutely correct. Thank you. Thank you. And by the way, regarding this deity, even though either Vajradhara in the longer succession, and then I think was it Vajrasattva in the abbreviated, then please feel free to, yes, with the main deity.
Thank you, Rinpoche. I have two questions. I heard you say that in the clear light of death, it's conceptual. And my definition of
conceptual is like thinking. So I want to know, what's your definition of conceptual? And then I have another question.
Even like defining conceptual thought is really challenging, right? What are thoughts? How to define them? Yeah. I think it's very difficult. It's very difficult. Aside the five sense consciousness, this is somehow easier. It makes sense that they are non-conceptual. But then how about in the sixth consciousness, then we have both conceptual and non-conceptual. So this is difficult. It's like I cannot even define it. Then how can let alone your second question? I cannot even come up to address the first part, right? But let me try, okay? Conceptual thought, it creates a mental picture, right? It creates a mental picture. So anything that creates a mental picture, that is conceptual. I think it's that. Okay, so let's go with that.
No, the reason I don't agree with you is because when you go through the dissolution process, conceptual thoughts dissolve like in the clear white appearance, in the clear white appearance.
Yeah.
So by the time you get to the clear light, the conceptual thoughts have disappeared. So how could you then have a conceptual thought of the clear light in that state?
I beg to differ.
Okay.
In the first empty state, you're right. The 80 concepts have dissolved, but not conceptual thoughts. Right? There's a distinction. Not all conceptual thoughts are included within these 80, right? So the 80 concepts, you're right, they're dissolved, and of course, they are not manifest during the fourth empty state, right? The clear light state. None of those 80 are manifest. But that doesn't mean there is no conceptual consciousness at that moment. This is how I would answer.
So you're saying conceptual consciousness is akin to like a thought process?
Excuse me?
You're saying the conceptual thought, you're saying it's like a thought process, that there's natural.
The thing is, the conceptual clear light, we have no example of that level of thought process, because all we have right now is we can only go and take examples from the 80 concepts and use that for reference, right? So this is a whole different level of conceptual experience during the death clear light. So the point is, we are right now so far from this non-dualistic experience that we cannot even experience all forms of conceptual states, because we are on such a coarse level of conceptual thoughts as of this moment that we cannot even experience subtler forms of conception.
I heard the alarm go off, so
Well,
I'll reserve my second question for the next session.
okay. Well, Agi chini sabe gyaba de tenda dowa gula ka gyabara jesu lobzan daba embe nyingbo rindo seje sho.
lü dang so jiang dang ne zi ma ge ji zang bia le ba ma zhen ba chou de ga wa ba me ne den yin bo le zi ne zhu ba tao gang xi ji be wa ju nya nam ba la ju be yin zi da wa chang ju sim ju ren bo ji ma ji yang ba me ba ya gong ne gong do be wa pa ma sim ji dam ji de da den ju nian zhuo tam ji da du dong wa da jiang ju san ba de da guen ji ma la ma zhu ju ka ri ra we gu wei yin ge wan de bian dan de wa ma jie re san wa den jin jia zuo yi xia bei si de ba du ye wa gong duo yang da la ma dan zhe me qi ji bei la sa da lam jie yan de ra zuo ne du jie zhang jie xie jie jia bo zong ka bei qi zhen天野马勒苍瓦有大大仙界的这位从年拉的呢，叫我罗上天马一人马就是这三界古松年呗，去年民就等北京了，天天没钱那边去了，就当我们看着。小也给我年也要么多要多，哎呀么要少。也要着我也有见家呀么么的少。